Do you want a car that feels like a roller coaster? Do you want a car that's only going to go up in value? Or do you want a car that can also feel like a punch from the great Muhammad Ali?
Oh my God!
Porsches and turbos are a bit like McDonald's and fries, salt and pepper, or bread and butter. Porsches were one of the first companies to make use of the turbos in the sport and performance vehicles. This was in the late 60s that they started developing, putting it into production in 1975. The use of turbo in Porsche was first made in the model 930 in 1975. It made 256 brake horsepower and a little over 300 Newton meters of torque. Now, the figures might not sound like a lot, but it was plenty and quite frankly, jaw-dropping in terms of the experience, because you've got to remember there was no ABS, no traction control at that time, and it was all rear-wheel drive. So it was quite literally named the Widowmaker, or generations from then all the way up until 993 have been called Widowmakers for that specific reason. The 993 model were the first car to adopt all-wheel drive in the turbo edition, as well as the twin turbo. This 997 actually makes use of the variable turbine geometry turbos, and what that allows them to do is to combine a small turbo with a bigger turbo, meaning you get the turbo spooling up quicker at lower revs, and that enhances the driving experience, which is what we will come to once we're inside the car. This 997 turbo is finished in this gorgeous meteor grey color. This being a Gen 2, you get the LED rear lights, you got the ducktail spoiler, which sits in very nicely under this rising spoiler. So it doubles up for downforce. It also has these massive sports exhaust tips, which obviously gives it the distinction from the standard 911s. The beauty of the 911 turbos are that it's essentially a supercar that's understated. Unlike, let's say, a Ferrari, where you park it up and you have people crawling all over it. Just in case you hadn't noticed, it's got these massive ducts as well, which bring in extra air to cool the turbo in the engine. These ducts are quite synonymous with the turbo, which give it, again, a distinction from the standard 911. So if you've got this one coming in head on, you'll be able to see the ducts and you know you've got an animal behind you. So coming into the inside of the 911 turbo, and what a good place to be in. We've got these remarkably well-kept sport seats that are 14-way adjustable with lumbar support, and they're also memory as well. This car is also spec'd with a Bose sound system, which gives it that crisp sound. The roof lining is an Alcantara. It also has lots of carbon bits and pieces, starting from the door sill to the center console, to the gear knob and the cup holder openings. Being inside the turbo, it's quite a good place to be. The seats are quite comfortable, the steering wheel feels quite good, the weight of the steering feels just perfect. It's hydraulic steering, so it's the last good steering. as the enthusiasts of Porsche will say, before they went electric. In terms of driving, we have a PDK gearbox. I'm currently doing 50 mile an hour. I'm in 7th gear. If you want a bit more out of it, give it 25% throttle and the car becomes vicious, because the turbos spool up and you get a tremendous surge of power. If you wanted a bit more power and you were feeling a bit more, generous in terms of giving the power to the road, you press the sports button and that changes the gears a bit later. The suspension stiffens up. There you go, you start getting thrown in your seat. Oh wow. That was definitely exhilarating. We're on these nice little twisty country roads. Had to use every ounce of my concentration there to keep the car on the road and keep us alive in this thing. When the turbos spool up, it is something giving you a kick. I can't imagine what this car would have been like in two-wheel drive. Well, with this much power, it wouldn't have been able to put it down. But I'm talking about the 930s, the 964 turbos. It just becomes incredibly difficult to use. But this is actually very usable power. Once you're done with your adventure in sports mode, which I'm quite not, but I will be soon, once this itch is over, which I'm not sure when it will be. Turbo cars get criticized for the engine noise, but that's the 991 Turbo S. In this 997, I'm very happy with the engine noise. Anyways, where was I? Once I'm done with this adventure, for the purpose of this video, I'll be done with this adventure. You just press the sports button, softens the suspension, and you're back to that PDK shifting of the gears gently, effortlessly, and you're cruising along. Could be on your way to Scotland for your summer break, until you reach the mountains and then you go into sports again.